Diluted history in 15 seconds. Um, I'm hearing don't even waste 15 seconds of your life explaining yourself when you don't need to be explaining yourself. Like, because I feel like there's explaining yourself, just to help someone understand, and then there's explaining yourself to control like how you're perceived. Like where like somebody maybe you're over explaining because you don't want them to think you're a bad person or to think you're inconsiderate, you're selfish. So you're sitting here explaining, oh, this is why I'm doing it. You're explaining your motives. You're explaining like why you're doing it and why it's valid. Like you're doing going way above and beyond and overcompensating just to control how they receive it, just to make sure it lands exactly how you feel like it needs to land. And I'm somebody who does that too, for real. Like, I try to fight that urge. It's like I find myself just explaining stuff just to, for those reasons. So I definitely understand it. But this is a call right now to not do that. Um, Say what needs to be said, explain what needs to be explained. And explain to people because you want them to understand or whatever, but not because you're trying to control how you're perceived. You're trying to control the narrative, or you want to make sure they receive it this way because that's the way they need to. Like, no. If you find yourself doing that, you need to let go of the control and allow things to, people to receive things how they need to receive it. And understand that it's all diluted history at the end of the day anyway. Like, even if you were able to successfully explain everything you ever did, understand there's still going to be people who don't understand it. There's still going to be people who get it wrong when they go to retell somebody else. There's still going to be people who the impact of it still for them is not what was intended. It's something completely different. And it's like, that's not for you to control. Understand that you are a vessel of divine grace, of divine energy. So it's like sometimes the other people's story, the reality needs to be a certain way to get them to do a certain thing. Like in somebody's story, you're a villain, you abandoned them, you gave up on them. And it's like that may not be the truth. You may have been drowning and you chose yourself. But understand that in them thinking that led them to themselves. They were like, what, I'm never gonna feel like this again. So maybe they just like they went into a hermit mode and locked in on themselves. They began to meditate, explore their inner world. They started to question who they are, what they even like, and it led to all these beautiful things that it led them to, to God. It led them to oneness. It led them to the universe. It led them to themselves. And it's like, yes, the inciting incident, the inciting action was you're a terrible person. You abandoned them, even though that's not your truth. That's not the truth. Understand that it still led them where they needed to go. And that's not to say that at some point when they get there and they learned all these things and they realize like, oh, okay, like they start to see it clearly, and they may come back and tell you like, what, like, yeah, I understand now. I didn't understand then, but I went down the rabbit hole, I found myself, and I understand like, okay, like this is where they were at, and understand that that's okay, and that happens. So it's like the story's not final anyway. So it's like sometimes you have to allow yourself to be whoever they need you to be in their story to get from point A to point B. And if this is someone you love, understand that you always want the best for them anyway. So it's like that should be, even if it's not you, even if that's in spite of you or despite you. If it's what's best for them, it's what's best for them. So understand that don't spend too much time trying to control narratives. Understand that the universe unfolds how it does, and that at the end, trust that time will tell all. Um, the things you do, your legacy, the things you leave behind, how you impact people, that will all tell the story and defend you better than you ever could. And you'll only be wasting time and energy that you could be using to impact more people, to be finding more of yourself, to be getting to that next thing to discover, getting to that next teaching or whatever it is. But it's like if you're sitting here wasting time trying to control how you're received, perceived, or any of that stuff, you're wasting your time and your energy. And you're too valuable for that. Your energy's too valuable for that. Your mind's too valuable for that. So it's like use your energy to continue to create, continue to impact others. And yeah, don't spend time trying to explain, and control what's going to be diluted history anyway. Not even 15 seconds. So it's okay. Free yourself and understand that it's only going to lead to more of you anyway. And you'll never lose anybody or anything in that process that's meant for you. What will fall away is what's meant to fall away. and those who are meant to understand you, those who are meant to be there next to you on this journey will be there, and they will continue to be there because they're meant to. So trust yourself and release control. You know, on the bottom, somebody, you already know that. I'm not saying anything you don't know already. It's like, it's just allowing yourself to own that and allowing yourself to move that way and understand that there's nothing wrong, and that even though everybody's not going to understand, in a lot of ways you're ahead of the pack. So it's like, you have to continue to lead. They're not going to always see everything you see, but continue to show up. You know, keep them, explain as you need to, and keep them in the loop. Of course, I'm not saying keep anybody in the darkness, especially anybody who's trying to follow you and trying to support you and be there with you. Definitely keep them in the loop, but understand that they don't have to understand everything for you to move. They don't have to approve of everything for you to move. They don't have to validate everything for you to feel like, you know, you're a good person, or that you're a worthy leader, or that you're right, or that you know what you know. Understand that sometimes you have to do it misunderstood. You have to do it alone. Sometimes you have to do it while people are looking at you like you're crazy, but you still have to do it. That's the part that never changes, no matter how anybody feels about it. So, and you know that. So, own it. You got this.